Chapter 12. In the early hours of the morning, a disturbance in my room jolted me awake. I quickly grabbed my weapon, ready to defend myself against whatever or whoever was lurking in the shadows. I sensed movement beneath the mattress where I had hidden Everin's bird. Without hesitation, I swung my arm and made contact with something warm and breathing. I wrestled with it in the darkness, and a repugnant odor filled my nostrils. Suddenly, a putrid entity clamped its slimy appendage over my mouth, trying to silence me. I fought back, wrenching the creature's grip from my face and plunging my weapon deep into its body. A piercing screech echoed through the room, and the creature fell to the ground, lifeless. I lit a match, trying to steady my breathing and calm my nerves. The creature was not human. Its blood was a strange color, and there was far too much of it. The innkeeper, a chak, rushed into the room, horrified by the sight of blood. He insisted that I leave immediately, without any refund. I begged to use his stone outbuilding to clean myself up, but he refused. In defeat, I searched under the mattress for Everin's toy. The creature, known as a chak, stared in awe at the intricate designs on the silk that wrapped around the object. I gathered my belongings and left the room, but the chak refused the coins I offered. As I walked out into the morning light, the coins flew after me, tossed by the creature. I examined the toy, a small device that could be either a tool or a weapon, and wondered if it was keyed to me or to someone else using my name. Pressing the button could either solve my problems or make them worse. I spent the day in a dive bar, contemplating the dangers of these toys and the possibility that even children could control them. No one was safe, not even in the Trantor colony. I needed to find Julie and protect her from Everin, who had one of these deadly toys. I made my way into the Trantor zone, a crescent-shaped city that encircled the trade city, and passed through the guarded gateway with ease. The guards barely noticed me, but I knew I looked like a mess, covered in non-human blood. I asked for permission to enter the Trantor zone. I considered giving the name of the man I was impersonating, but then I realized that if Lyric had passed himself off as Race Drake, he would expect that. He was also capable of putting out a pickup order for his own name through Space Force, which was a masterstroke of impudence. So instead, I gave the name we had used from Shensar to Charon and added one of the Secret Service passwords to the end of it. The guards looked at each other, and one of them said, "Raskar, hey? This is the guy, all right." They took me into a booth by the gate while the other used an intercom device. Eventually, they took me to the HQ building and into an office that said, Legate. I tried not to panic, but it wasn't easy. I had walked right into another trap. One guard asked me, "All right now, what exactly is your business in the trade city?" I had hoped to locate Lyric first, but now I knew I had no chance. At all costs, I had to straighten out this matter of identity before it went any further. "Put me straight through to Magnuson's office, level 38 at Central HQ by VZ, I demanded. I was trying to remember if Mac had ever even heard the name we used in Shainsa. I decided I couldn't risk it. "Name of Race Drake." The guard grinned without moving and said to his partner, "That's the one, all right." He put a hand on my shoulder and spun me around. "Haul off, man! Shake your boots!" There were two of them, and Space Force guards aren't picked for their good looks. Just the same, I gave a pretty good account of myself until the inner door opened and a man came storming out. "What the devil is all this racket?" One guard got a hammerlock on me. "This dry-towner bum tried to talk us into making a priority call to Magnuson, the chief at Central. He knew a couple of the SS passwords. That's what got him through the gate. Remember, Drake passed the word that somebody would turn up trying to impersonate him." "I remember," the strange man said, his eyes wary and cold. "You damned fools," I snarled. "Magnuson will identify me. Can't you realize you're dealing with an imposter?" One of the guards said to the legate in an undertone, "Maybe we ought to hold him as a suspicious character." But the legate shook his head. "Not worth the trouble. Drake said it was a private affair. You might search him. Make sure he's not concealing contraband weapons," he added, and talked softly to the wide-eyed clerk in the background while the guards went through my shirt cloak and pockets. When they started to unwrap the silk-shrouded toy, I yelled that if the thing got set off accidentally, there would be trouble. The legate turned and rebuked, Can't you see it's embroidered with the toad god? It's a religious amulet of some sort. Let it alone." They grumbled, but gave it back to me, and the legate commanded, "Don't mess him up any more. Give him back his knife and take him to the gates." As I was leaving, the guards grabbed me and forced me out the gate. One of them pushed my sword back into its sheath, while the other shoved me hard, causing me to fall to the ground. The Chak children and veiled women laughed at me, but I got up and glared at them until they fell silent. I was tempted to turn back and fight, but I knew Lyric had set a trap for me. The street was narrow and dark, and I walked aimlessly, nursing my injured arm. I regretted not demanding to see Race Drake or insisting on a fingerprint check to prove my identity. I went to a wine shop to think and ordered a drink. I couldn't warn Julie, but I thought I could get information from Millen. I took out the bird in my pocket, which was a temptation to use, but the shopkeepers were afraid of it. As I left, I realized I was being followed. I saw a head out of the corner of my eye and heard a persistent tapping sound. My skein was at the ready, but I had a feeling that this was not a situation that could be resolved with a blade. I quickly slipped into a nearby alley and waited, but nothing happened. I continued on my way, chuckling at my own paranoia. However, after a while I heard the soft but persistent sound of footsteps trailing behind me once more. I darted through a bustling market, weaving between stalls and avoiding the angry vendors selling hot-fried fish. Women in striped veils scolded me in their sing-song language when I accidentally stepped on their rolled-up rugs. But even as I tried to lose my pursuer, I could hear the same uneven tapping of footsteps in the distance. Tap, 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 tap. I sprinted down a street lined with flower-decked balconies, their lanterns glowing with gold and orange light. I raced through quiet streets where furry children peeked out from behind doors, their large golden eyes shining in the darkness. Finally, I darted into an alley and collapsed, gasping for air. Suddenly a voice spoke from just inches away. "Are you one of us, brother?" I grumbled a surly reply in his dialect, but then a reassuring hand gripped my elbow. "This way," the stranger said. Exhausted from my long run, I allowed him to lead me, planning to break away after a few steps, apologize for the misunderstanding, and disappear. However, when I heard the sound of footsteps once more, tap, 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 I relaxed and allowed my guide to lead me further into the unknown.